The featured video centers on a 2015 action crime drama film titled Landmine Goes Click. The story is set in Georgia, where a couple, Alicia and Daniel, and their friend Chris embark on a camping trip in the mountains. The location was previously a war zone, filled with tanks, artillery, and landmines. However, they believe it's now safe. While on a break, Alicia confesses to Chris that she cheated on Daniel with him. She regrets it and doesn't want to ruin her relationship with Daniel. Chris wants to come clean, but he's scared of the consequences. Upon reaching the hilltop, Daniel makes a spontaneous decision to propose to Alicia and appoints Chris as the marriage officiant. Reluctantly, Chris reads out the vows and heads off to set up the tents. Later that night, Chris attempts to confess to Daniel about his affair with Alicia, but Daniel reassures him and promises to stand by his side even if the couple goes on vacation. Upon seeing how happy Alicia and Daniel are together, Chris decides to abandon his plan and lets Daniel share a kiss with his new bride. The next day, Chris wakes up and catches a thief attempting to steal Daniel's belongings. While grappling with the thief, the couple arrives and introduces Chris to their friend, Devi. Alicia had sent Devi to retrieve her camera during their photo shoot. In a sudden turn of events, Chris steps on a landmine, prompting Devi to warn everyone about the dangerous situation. The group panics, but is unable to do anything but wait for the arrival of explosive experts. Devi, being a local, rushes to get help while Alicia and Daniel climb up to the hilltop to get better cell phone reception. Once there, Daniel confronts Alicia about her infidelity, leaving her shocked. It turns out that Chris had confided in Daniel the previous night, and Daniel had orchestrated the entire landmine situation with Devi as revenge against his former friend and his ex-girlfriend. Now, with no help coming, Alicia is left to deal with the dangerous situation on her own. Daniel suggests that Alicia dig a hole for Chris in order to increase his chances of survival. At first, Chris thinks Daniel pulling out the inserted pin that arms the landmine is a joke, but it quickly becomes clear that Daniel is seeking revenge for Alicia's infidelity. Despite Alicia's attempts to calm him down, Daniel is determined to leave Chris to his fate. Alone, Alicia tries to reinsert the pin to free Chris, but her efforts fail. To keep Chris from losing hope, Alicia starts digging a hole with the shovel left by Daniel. As she digs, a local man named Ilya appears, wielding a gun and accusing Alicia of injuring his dog. After explaining Chris's predicament, Ilya becomes curious about her presence in the desolate area. Alicia and Chris are both angry at Ilya for his behavior, but they know that he is their only chance for survival. However, Ilya demands something from Alicia in exchange for his help. Initially, Alicia tries to avoid answering him, but Ilya becomes more aggressive and insists on knowing. When he discovers that Alicia cheated on her boyfriend with Chris, he berates her for her actions. Despite their frustration, Alicia and Chris cannot do anything but comply with Ilya's demands. The man, Ilya, reveals his perverted nature by taking Alicia's panty from her bag, but he is still not satisfied and demands the undergarment she is currently wearing. Despite feeling disgusted, Alicia has no choice but to comply to save Chris's life. After Ilya starts digging the hole, they discover he has a radio which they can use to get help. However, Ilya wants more than just the panty if they need his help. He throws the undergarment and orders Alicia to crawl on the ground and retrieve it like a dog, which she refuses to do. Alicia tries to dig the hole herself, but soon becomes too exhausted to continue. Eventually, she gives in to Ilya's demands and hands over the panty to him. After finally obtaining the radio, Alicia struggles to understand the cop on the other side, who speaks in Georgian. She once again turns to Ilya for help in translating, but he demands something even more disturbing in exchange for Alicia to undress. Refusing to give in to the creepy man's demands, Alicia becomes frustrated with her situation and starts digging the hole once again, while Chris expresses his disgust with Ilya's behavior. As Alicia loses hope, she reluctantly takes off her shirt as Ilya had demanded to inform the cops. Ilya communicates with the rescue team, but then he demands that Alicia undress more, which she refuses to do. In response, Ilya points his gun at her, driven by his desperate and disturbed mind. However, Chris manages to divert Ilya's attention, allowing Alicia to run away, but Ilya chases her and catches her. Chris uses a chain to pick up Ilya's gun, but he still can't shoot because Ilya has a knife to Alicia's throat. As Chris aims his gun at Ilya with the knife on Alicia's throat, he witnesses the horrific abuse inflicted on her but is powerless to intervene. Suddenly, the dog attacks Chris, causing the gun to go off and resulting in him falling to the ground. To everyone's surprise, the mine underneath Chris does not explode, revealing that it was a fake. However, the gunshot hits Alicia and she dies on the spot. After a few days, Chris poses as a tourist and approaches Ilya's family for directions. Tanya, Ilya's wife, invites him for lunch as a kind gesture, unaware of what's about to happen. While Chris is having his meal, Ilya arrives home and is shocked to see the foreigner sitting inside. Ilya cannot ask him to leave as it would be suspicious for his family. However, as Chris's presence becomes unbearable, Ilya eventually tells him to leave the house. Chris enters the house with Ilya's injured dog and forces Ilya to take out his gun. However, before Ilya can take any action, Chris shoots him in the leg. Later he orders Ilya's young daughter Lika to take off her panty in front of her father. Ilya cries and apologizes to Chris for his heinous crimes. After losing his mind, Chris takes off Tanya's undergarments and orders her to undress. Meanwhile, Ilya crawls on the ground to save his daughter. Chris shoots Lika to death without thinking once. The film concludes with Chris sitting in the corner of the house with a shocked expression on his face while Lika's parents mourn their daughter's death loudly. That concludes the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing for more similar content and support us by hitting the like button. Additionally, feel free to leave a comment requesting a recap of your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.